This is Star of Providence. It's an older game that got a refresh recently, and it's interesting. You really ought to take a look at this. So, Star of Providence is a game published by Big Mode, which some of you may know is a publishing company started by video game Donkey, a fellow YouTuber with a gaming channel that's slightly larger than mine. He made it look really cool. I mean, granted, I guess he's financially incentivized to do so now, but it looked good to me, so I thought I'd give it a shot. And here's how it went. So right off the rip, I know it might not look very impressive. It looks like kinda just another indie shoot 'em up that you've probably seen dozens of on Steam and been like, yeah, I guess it's another one of those. No. Come on, hang on, give it a shot. Well, it's also a roguelike, and I know there's a lot of those on Steam too. Just bear with me. So you play as a starship that handles like a man and has a bachelor pad with a sassy talking cat sack thing, and you go exploring into the earth to try to find treasure, or whatever a starship would consider to be treasure. I don't know, motor oil? I hope that made sense, because the game does not explain any of this, really. Actually, rewind. Hang on, there is a story. So apparently, at one point there was a big city, but then there wasn't. Some kind of catastrophe, some big explosion, and then it was all ruins. So admittedly, I'm basing this all on the title screen, which doesn't explain very much, so you're gonna have to fill in the gaps on your own. Your little starship has to venture down into the ruins below, where there's treasure, or lost technology, or something valuable. Who cares? Go, get in there. Unfortunately, there's also a whole lot of enemies down there who want to make you dead. And unless you try very hard to make that not the case, they will succeed. Because this game is pretty challenging. It's a roguelike and not a forgiving one. Health is scarce, upgrades are limited, enemies are unrelenting. Holy hell, everything wants to shoot at you. I mean, look at this. This is... yeah. But it's not entirely hopeless. You can find better guns, you can get health upgrades, you can actually heal a little bit. There's convenient starship-shaped upgrade stations down here where you can get power-ups. That's nice. Nice of them to leave that there for you. And you're gonna need all the power you can get because there's everything down here. Not just lost technology, but also zombies, constructs, ghosts, wizards. I don't know what they're all doing down here, but I do know one thing. They all hate starships, and they will join together arm in arm relentlessly to try to make you dead. It just feels a little mean-spirited, honestly. The nostalgia factor is pretty high here. If you've played old shoot-'em-up games like R-Type or Raiden or Galaga, that one's a little old even for me, but I've played it, then you'll feel right at home here. You know, the type of games you used to play at the laundromat when you were annoying your mother and she gave you some quarters to have some peace and quiet. I don't know if the younger generations necessarily will share that nostalgic feeling, but you can let me know how you feel about that in the comments. Might have noticed by now that this game is a little weird, right? But kind of in a charming way. Like, look at it. Doesn't it just appeal to you? There's a real vibe of just a small team here, of everyone kind of putting forth their own ideas, and evidently they didn't throw any of them out. They just kind of mashed everything together, which is kind of nice. Kind of has a team project feeling at school, which you really only find in the indie space. You don't get that so much in AAA games where everything has to be designed by committee and pass through a focus test. You won't find a AAA game that lets you have a coffee-drinking starship that fights ghosts and fish in the future. It's kind of relatable. I drink coffee, the ship drinks coffee, you and me, ship, we are on the same wavelength. Sometimes I pause the game just so that the ship and I can each enjoy a cup of coffee, and that feels nice. What didn't feel so nice was my first hour or two with the game. If I'm being honest, it's just, you know, that's on me. It's a roguelike, so the enjoyment really kind of scales with how good you are at the game, and you're gonna suck at the game, most likely when you first start out. Or at least I did, I don't know, maybe you didn't, maybe you're an elite gamer, good for you. But like a bath that's just a little too hot when you dip your toes into, it took me a while to acclimate to it, I'm gonna admit. I had to change some bad habits, like not holding down the fire button all the time. You get weapon upgrades, but you need those things, and they have limited ammo, and you really have to watch out, because otherwise you can wind up fighting a boss with a pea shooter, and that really sucks. I mean, it's still doable, probably, if you're a better gamer than I am, but yeah, you're gonna want to hang on to those shots. Also using bombs correctly, which, like with most shoot-em-ups, are actually defensive, which takes a little getting used to. They do about as much damage as a sneeze, but they destroy all shots on the screen. But the problem with that is stifling the instinct I have to mash the button after I take a shot reflexively, which, yeah, I know it's dumb, but it's muscle memory, okay? It's hard to get rid of. Now, you do get some upgrades, or side grades. You can unlock things in your hideout in between runs, and you might delude yourself here and think that you can grind your way to success and pay for power instead of getting good. But no. Getting good is the only way. This is old school. Get your skills up or go home, which honestly is something you should be aware of. I mean, I like to recommend games like this, but that's my taste. You might prefer something more casual, and if you do, good for you, but you'll probably be more happy playing Hello Kitty Island Adventure, which I think is actually a real game now. That's weird. After a while, I found myself feeling this game, getting into the groove of it. Once you start getting good and you can push farther ahead and getting some neat upgrades, I got this sword, it's awesome. I don't know how a starship wields a sword, but don't ask questions like that. Don't. And I also was able to get farther in, see more of what the game has to offer, actually accrue some power. There's a lot of cool bosses in the game, like this guy and this guy. Maybe not so much this guy. I don't know how I feel about this guy, but in general, most of the guys are pretty cool, even if it's more than likely one of them is going to herald the end of your run. I learned the correct strategy because the game does allow you to make choices. Do you take the health or do you take the damage? I'm going to make it really easy for you. You take the damage every time, you coward. What? You're not going to get hit, come on. You don't need that health, unless you suck, and you don't suck, do you? Besides, damage is health. You kill things faster, they don't get a chance to hit you, you don't take damage, you don't need health. Ergo, damage is health. It's simple arithmetic. There's a lot of charm in this game too, a lot of little details that I like, or didn't like, or felt middling about. I like that you get a little cozy pad to come back to between runs. You unlock decorations now and then to make it cozy, although I don't know why a starship would need to feel cozy. Sometimes enemies will stop by to have a little chat, just to show that there's no hard feelings in this game. There's also weird stuff like these hacking minigames, which are fine but feel a little unfair because you go from a crazy shoot 'em up action game into a puzzle minigame, and the game gives you like 2 seconds to figure it out before you lose, and that kinda feels a little unfair if I'm being honest. It kind of reminds me of old school games like Final Fantasy, where you spend like 20 hours grinding mobs, but then have one puzzle section and it's hard as hell. Not because the puzzles are hard, but because you've been in combat mode for so long that the problem-solving, puzzle-solving part of your brain doesn't work anymore. It's a real curveball, is what I'm saying. I also like that there's clearly mysteries, little side things that left to be discovered. Like there's this whole temple that's like a whole side area that you can explore and make choices in. That was neat. I still haven't figured out what these shortcut things are because every single time I've touched one, it's wiped me out. And now I'm afraid to touch them at all, but I'm sure that's something cool. That'll be neat to discover once I get good enough to actually handle it. I haven't beaten the game yet, I'm gonna be honest. So, I don't know, maybe when you get farther in it kind of starts to suck, who knows, I doubt it, but I guess it's always a possibility. I've made it as far as level 5, which I think is the final level, unless the achievements are lying to me, but so far I'd have to give this a ringing endorsement. If it sounds like your kind of thing, I would definitely recommend it to you. But anyway, that's all I had to say about that. I'm gonna play something else now.